have touchdown. Morning, welcome back, I'm Norm. An eagle has landed. as you can see from that little bit of time-lapse footage, we finally got the boiler in position. She's now in her final resting spot for the minute until I decide to move it again, but it's nice and out of the way here, I think. It wasn't without casualty. So if you watch the video of us actually moving this with a winch, you will notice that we had a bit of an axle failure. And now I've got the boiler off, we can have a good look at this axle and see what went wrong. So as you can see, probably for this angle's better, but there's a distinct bow to that axle. I believe the main cause of it was the weight. I think we overloaded her. It's what it's done is it's pulled the actual spring hangers, or not spring hangers, the brake mounts that we used. It's pulled them off. I think this axle is designed to. We should have probably went to where the spring hangers were with our RSJs, but it is what it is. It did do the job. So next time I come to move a big boiler with a dolly, I'll either get another one of them rear axles, which was plenty strong enough, or I will move these out a little bit closer to the brake drums. I think that's all that really let us down. Looks like we didn't do a very good job welding them flanges on this side. Not enough penetration in that weld, and it's just ripped it all apart. We weren't very kind with this, to be honest. We got a bit of abuse. So. That's why we need that chop. It is what it is, really. It did get the job done. We would have never drug it on the ground, so I'm happy that it's moved. So a lot of people ask what we're doing with this boiler. Well, to be honest, we're just storing it. That's all we're doing. It's too nice to cut up for scrap, but at the same time, we've got no need for a boiler this size here, really. You can always plumb it into the crane, but I think that's more of a task even I'm willing to take on. That'd be far too much work for one man. We'd be easier getting that boiler or the crane fixed, which we'll be doing it at some point in the future. So basically, bar leveling it up and skewing it up so it's level, because that's killing me OCD. And cutting these blanking plates out. These have been blanking plates welded in where they use it for their receiver. They done away, well, they haven't done away with the flues. The flues are still in there, but they just welded them up. So these will be getting cut out and leveled up, and then the kids can use it as a jungle gym. That's pretty much what's going to happen to that for a minute. So yeah, boiler project finished. So I'm calling it here. That one's done. On to the next big project. And projects we've got lots of projects in the yard. I figured I'd take the moment to go over some of them. One of the main ones being, I want to rebuild this boiler that's on the steam crane. It's completely shot. There's big holes up through the firebox. She wants foundation ring, firebox, and some other work doing to it. We've got all the parts and pieces for it. We just need to get on with it, and then the crane would go through the crane and get this not restored, but to a working condition where we can reliably run it on steam, really. So that's one of the projects. Another little project while we're in the yard, this little Evelyn, little motor roller, diesel. This is lost drive. It wants one of the half shafts looking at. But that'll be a project just to get them up and running again. We do use this, so it'd be nice to get this running backwards and forwards again. So that's a project. Another project I would like to do at some point is this is our water cart. This is our Wallace and Stevens original water cart. We rebuilt, put a wrapper on, made a drawbar in all the rest of it a couple of years ago now. But the last thing to do is fix this water pump. This has had a bit of frost damage on the back here, so we want to sleeve this and rebuild this to just get this operational again, and then this would be as it was. Well, not quite as it was when it came out of the factory, but working as intended, shall I say. So that's a little project we've got to do. And of course, sitting right behind it is the big Massey power hammer. We've had a quick look at this one, but this one's a total strip down rebuild really. I will get to that one day. Where on the list of things to do it is, I'm not sure, but it's definitely getting in here in this front cylinder. We've had a look at the back cylinder, done a bit of work on that, but we want to get in the front cylinder and make sure that the ram and the piston's all alright, and then basically just go through and free it all up. And I'm sure if we put a belt on it and belt it up, it would work once freed up. So it's another project in the yard waiting its turn. While we're on the subject of power hammers, this one we're going to want to run over. I'll probably do that today, at the end of today. I'm going to want to run this over. If you leave them sitting too long out in the weather, they don't like it. So we'll chuck some oil and some grease in this today later on. Just give it a little run over. I might go over how this operates and how the controls and everything works. There's a few people interested in how this actually works. I'll be able to go over a slight example, or so we should be able to go over the basics on this later on today when we get to it. Just get that turned over and make sure she stays freed up nice and ready for running condition. I have got a job to do on this, but again, I ain't got round to it yet. Running out of round to it. I suppose last but not least is just the belt driven machine shop. I've got an array of belt driven tools that we're wanting to get set up so we can have an old timey belt driven workshop, but that's a long way off yet. I'm just storing these now, just keep oiling them periodically, and one day we get all this lot set up permanent so we can use it. There's this in this container. We got the big drill, the big iron worker, and the other tools that are in this shed here. So we've got the little mill, bench grinder, and I'm probably going to hook the other iron worker up as well, just to play with it. So as well as that out of the yard, we haven't been neglecting Lauren. Lauren's been getting worked on. We've got this shaft back in now with the valve link hangers all been fitted back on the engine, all bolted back up, ready for their links. So we haven't been putting off working on Lauren. I might get her slide bar set up later on because I can do that. Get them shimmed and get the main little end pin back on the engine. So I might do that later on today. So another main thing I've done is I've worked out the profiles and the gears spacing and the teeth and the centers and everything's been worked out for the gears now. And just for a bit of cheap insurance, I took these and cut them out on the plasma cutter. profiles for the gear teeth, and I've got them fitting on the engine now. So that's all looking like that's going to be correct. So we need to cut 10 or 15 more of these now and just bolt them together, and then we got our gear set. So I reckon that should pull 20 ton uphill. So now I've just got to commit really to cutting the main gear blanks. But we got that figured out, and it's all working out to be as intended basically. So progress has been made there. Right, so while it's raining outside, I figured I'll just take some time to sort these little keeper pins out. You see there what I've done, I just turned the pin that we've glued in the other week, using these little pins. These are anti-rotation pins just to keep the pins from spinning. So as you can see, what we've done is we've glued these in a week or more ago. We just flushed off the top, and then we just cut a little bit of a shoulder on that pin, and that should correspond with the notch in the eccentric. That should just bump down. Flush like that. And there's no way that pin is ever going to spin in that bore. So that's got that pin to the shaft. So here's one we hadn't done. So you see the pins I left them long. So we just need to shorten the length of the pin and blend the top in. So I'll go do this one. So same again. So just like that. So we're just going to do the rest of them quickly, and see what else we can get up to. Alright, that'll be the eccentrics done for now then. On to the next job. Right, so this is the crosshead slide block, glide block, whatever you want to call it. But basically this is what runs down your slide bars and takes the motion of the cranking, turns it into a linear motion, and this is the little end pin. But as you can see, same as the last pins, the eccentric pins, this has got a little keeper pin as well, because we don't want this rotating in this block as it was doing before. So what we need to do is we need to file a key in these blocks. We made these years ago, replaced the worn out ones. These are just a nice cast iron. I made them out of an old V block, big old V block. So basically we just need to file a corresponding key in the cast. So if I get that lined up somewhere where I think I want it, just give it a little smite with a hammer, and we'll see about filing that out. But of course it always helps if you file your notch in the right side of the block. So let's start that again. Right, so you want to file your notch in this side of the block. Idiot. Right, so we're now over on the milling machine, because all my files is blunt, and there's our cutter, a 4mm mill. Put that in this collet chuck. Reach up, turn the mill on. There we go. Get that dialed in. Right, let's try that. There we go. Right, so that's done. I'm going to leave that now. I'm not going to bother fitting this. because we're going to want to fit our little end brasses to it, and it'd be easier if we got the pin out so we can glue it and, you know, do the rest. So I'm going to leave that for now, so we're calling that done. So it looks like it's stopped raining. I can't think of anything else I need to do on the Wallace urgently, so let's get this old dinosaur greased up and spun over. Right, so let's press the magic button and see if she'll spin over. She's probably going to be a bit stiff. She's been sitting quite a while now, but it's only going to be a very quick, brief explanation of what's happening with this hammer. I will do a proper video on it one day. But basically, the principle is motor at the back drives a flywheel. Flywheel drives this big piston in the rear of the machine, which produces air, and via this linkage and this valve that runs straight through the air passages in the top of the hammer. Depending on where we put this depending on where we put this lever, it will open reed valves at different timing events to either put the air which is being compressed in the rear of this cylinder either in the bottom of that front one or the top of it. So basically this is another cylinder with the ram, so this is your ram, in here's another cylinder, and depending on where the air is coming in at the bottom or the top will depend on how your hammer reacts. So not only does the hammer fall, but it's actually pushed down with compression via the back cylinder, so that ram is thrown down, not just dropped. So it's not the drop hammer, it's a pneumatic hammer, and all the air is provided by the rear cylinder. There's a lot that goes into this valve working. In the middle there, that's a lot to explain, so we're not going to do that today. We just want to get it greased up and oiled and make sure she's not going to seize up on us. For operation, we've got the treadle. So you've either got your treadle, which you can see is getting a bit stiff, which is why we're doing this this job, or you can operate it with the lever on the side here. So when she's in about that position, the ram should stay still. It's just exhausting the air and not making the hammer move. As soon as you pull up on this lever or pull up on the treadle, the hammer will rise and it should stay. So the hammer should rise and it should idle in the top of his stroke, and then via either the handle or the treadle, depending on how far you push, you can bring that stroke down and you could do heavy blows, light blows, fully automatic blows, and there's even an option when he's right down there which will keep the work compressed between the two dies, so you can do holding down is what it's called, holding down work with it. So let's fire her back up, put her in that notch there, we get to raise up and get the kiss block out, put a bit of wood in there, and then just do a couple of blows to make sure all the oil and everything is going in the cylinder. Right, so we'll fire it up. And you can see the treadle, the treadle there. So that's it for the held up position. So if we actuate the lever now, we should be able to get the two blows. And you should be able to do quite controllable, even though it's a large hammer, you can still do quite controllable work with it. Don't ever put your hand in there. there we go, that'll do for this week's update. Just going to carry on. It's all this sort of stuff you've got to do on a regular basis, just keep this old stuff, you know, from seizing up and going to ruin. So I'm going to carry on with what I got planned, and I'll see you on next week's video. See you on the next one. Cheers. Finally, we have touchdown. Hello, I'm Norm. Welcome back.